What's up, guys? Coach Jeff here. Parents, this one's for you. I get asked this question all the time, and it's a really good question. Is what age should my kids start lifting weights? Okay, really valid question because we know that there's a lot of value in lifting weights, but when is it good? When is it safe? When is it appropriate? There's multiple factors, like most things in life. I'm going to preface this dialogue with this. Okay, folks often ask questions, but they're not ready for the answer. So what I mean by that is that oftentimes people want easy, simple answers for technical questions. Okay, so not everything, like most things in life, is not black and white. It's the same thing here. Okay, there's not just one defined answer saying 14 years old, 12 years old, 10 years old. Okay, there's a lot of factors going on. So before we start this, when you ask the question, be prepared for the full answer, and that's hopefully what I can provide for you today, is some clarity on at least our opinion and how we go about and how I would recommend, okay, if you have a youth athlete and you want them to be stronger, but you're concerned about how do we go about this and what's the best way and what's the safest way, here's my thoughts on it. So the first thing is we need to separate. There's a difference between strength training or resistance training and weightlifting. Well, not really a difference, but you can separate them to a degree. So to be clear, okay, weightlifting means I'm picking up an external weight, a plate, a barbell, a dumbbell, an external resistance. It's not attached to my body, right? It's not an appendage, okay? Resistance training can mean that, but it also could mean like body weight, right? Doing push-ups, doing pull-ups, doing body weight lunges and squats. It just means there's a resistance, okay? I'm overcoming a resistance. So that's important to understand, first of all, is that resistance training doesn't have to be weight training or weight lifting, okay? And so that's for most kids, right? For all kids, quite frankly, that's where the starting point is. It's resistance training. You're not worried about adding external loading until they've created movement mastery with their own body weight. I mean, hopefully that's logical. Hopefully that makes complete sense, and that's the only way that would make sense. Is that if they can't do a proper squat with their own body weight, why are we worried about adding a dumbbell or a bar at all? That seems illogical to me, and hopefully it seems illogical to you. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is develop, no matter their age, by the way, is develop movement competency and consistency with body weight movements. And we have a big five patterns that we really try to develop with our youth athletes. That's a squat, that's a hinge, it's a lunge, it's a pushing pattern, it's a pulling pattern. And those five are the big ones that we want those youth athletes to develop competency and eventually capacity, meaning the ability to do more in. But it starts with learning how to do things well, okay? And then you can determine what age is appropriate, okay? Because quite frankly, there's no predetermined age that someone should start strength training or adding or weight lifting. It really depends on their maturity, their training age, their ability, their willingness, their motivation. Okay, there's lots of factors at play that don't just, there's not just one that dictates you're 13 years old, you're ready to lift weights. I tell athletes you're ready to lift weights when you're ready, and that's dependent on your ability and your mentality. So as far as back to the physical component, right, the big five, a great way to really develop these patterns and to make sure that your young athlete knows how to do them and does them well is make them pause during each rep. And what I mean by that is what it sounds like. So if we're squatting, a standard that we have, okay, is you make them squat to the bottom of the squat, and every time they go to the bottom, they have to hold it for 5 seconds, okay? 5 full seconds. Now, if you're a really young athlete, usually that count is really fast, so maybe you say 10, because 10 is gonna end up being more like 5 seconds. Can they do 10 of those? And when we say like capacity, that means like physically can they do it without falling. But when we say like competency, that means technically are they doing it well? Is it a good squat or is it just a squat? Okay, so we want to make sure that we're developing movement competency first, like I mentioned. It's a good squat technically. The chest is up, the knees are out, the butt's back, the feet are flat and firmly rooted in the ground. And then once they develop the ability to do it well, then we build fitness out of that position. And that's how you build great athletes, okay? Is teaching them how to do things well first and then building capacity, okay? More and more ability to do that well. So the squat, we hold the bottom for 5 seconds, we repeat that 10 times. Once I can do that well, then maybe we start considering other things. with a hinge is just the ability to sit back and load the hamstrings and the glutes and the low back a little bit. The big thing we're looking for this one is, can they keep the back aligned as they shift posteriorly, or can they shift posteriorly at all? A lot of athletes will just see a simple bend over, okay? Or just loading up the spine, and not super helpful for an athlete. So sometimes you may need to put a stick behind their back to give them some external cueing, and just to kind of sit back. We're not worried about where they feel per se, or how much they bend the knees, or lock the knees, okay? We just want to see them sit back initially. Holding the bottom of that for 5 count, repeat 10 of those. The lunge is the same thing, okay? We get in this split position, we drop down to the lunge, we stop that back knee about an inch off the ground, hold it for a 5 count, full 5 seconds, stand up, repeat that for 10 times, okay? And then switch the other leg. Do they have competency, control, okay, balance in those positions? If they don't, they're not ready for anything else. If they do, great, keep improving them for a while, because chances are, even if you think they're good, there's a high chance they can get much better at those already. So those are the lower body 3. The upper body is going to be a pull and a push. A pull would be a pull-up or a row. Okay, the big thing with this is we want to make sure we want to develop full range of motion strength. And what we see all the time is, people brag about their pull-ups and their push-ups, and then I say, okay, show me, and they start pulling up like this, and so the little arm bends. That's not a pull-up, guys, right? We know that. So there has to be a standard, and the standard is all the way up, all the way down. Okay, obviously numbers go down, but we're thinking of the benefit versus stroking our ego with our athletes, and we want them to learn how to do it right from the start. Okay, so all the way up, all the way down, to row, all the way up, all the way down, and building strength in those. And then the push-ups, the last one, it's the same thing. Working on a good start position, not arm bends, right, but full range of motion push-ups, because I don't know about you, but I function here to here in life, not here to here. So I want to build strength and stability in that entire range of motion, and hopefully you guys do too. So those are our big 5, and that's where I would start. Once they own those movements and they build up some capacity, right, you have a standard in place. We like to use the 10 at 5 seconds. Then you can start to consider maybe they're ready to progress and start to add some type of loading. It still doesn't mean it has to be weights. It can be medicine balls, it can be bands, or you can extend the time that you do it. You can add reps, okay? But for most youth athletes, that's really where you need to start, and just stay there for a while, okay? And just get awesome at those things. So hopefully that provides you some more clarity on, as far as giving you direction on when you should start, and then what the heck you should do to kind of look out for them and make sure they're getting what they need to do. So don't overthink it, don't get crazy with it, just work on those big 5, developing the ability to do it well, and then developing the ability to do it over and over again, okay? So give that a whirl, okay? If you still have some questions, comment, okay? Get a hold of me, and I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you.